bro.
Are we on?
Yep, you're on.
Oh, we're actually
We're
on.
live.
Oh, we are on. Welcome
Welcome.
once more to Quarantini Happy Hour. And hold on, let me put this down first of all. Oh, wardrobe supervision going on. First things first, thank you everybody for tuning in. And this is very special because for the first time, we've got Nigel Hall as a guest
Special
here.
guest.
Special guest.
Came in through the back door.
So you got to treat your guests right. So let's get things started properly.
Uh-oh.
Quarantini
a minute.
o'clock.
There you go, the little top bit.
Oh, yeah. Do I have to shake it?
No, I wouldn't.
All right.
When you
And
shake
it's
it, you got to
it's got
smile.
ice
I
in
watch
it.
a lot of bar rescue. The bartenders, they smile when you shake it. So.
You want ice?
Yeah, you want
You
ice?
might want ice.
Nah.
It's kind of tepid. It's tepid.
fine.
It's a
That's all
tepid cocktail.
Good for
If we
me.
need ice, we can do that in a minute. There you look. Cheers.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, look, you got Pete Barakan and
Peter Barakan
and-
from Tokyo. Hey,
Yeah.
man. How you doing, Peter?
and Paul Siegel's watching.
Oh, wow. Paul in New York.
And
Oh, this
there's
is
people
great.
From look, Hong Kong, Madison, Wisconsin.
That's
Tokyo.
fantastic. Blimey. Oh, well, cheers.
Cheers to
Cheers,
all of
Nigel.
you out there.
Cheers to all the
Oh,
viewers.
man.
Quarantini o'clock. And here we are. This is episode number 570,002,473. I think. I'm not counting or anything.
You've been counting.
21.
That is a very
Blackjack.
exact number.
Blackjack. 21. Blackjack.
21. Wow. Ooh, that's really
Yeah,
nice.
that's nice.
Mm.
Good job.
It's a dark rum kind of daiquiri-ish.
Mine's already evaporated. Hold up.
Oh, man.
You want a little top up?
Why not?
Baton
Yeah, I guess.
Rouge, Walla Walla,
Twist my arm.
Washington. Morto. Oh, Masahiro's watching.
Hey,
Hey.
Masahiro. Hey,
That's a name I
Masahiro.
recognize.
Yeah.
San Francisco.
So thank you for listening in. We make this stuff up as we go along. Basically, we're going to play some music. We're going to take some questions, clown
hang
around
out.
a little bit, drink some quarantinis. And halfway through, we've got the competition. A brilliantly original idea. No one's ever thought of anything like this before. I'm quite proud of it. It's called Name That Smiley Lewis Tune.
Yeah, this is definitely your quarantine show.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's
Because
been-
mine would be the same. But it would be named that
That
George Duke
Duke
tune.
tune.
Hence, thank you.
Well, we can do that. Let's play a shuffle in B flat. Let's get
All
going.
right.
1, 2, 3. What you say, Nigel? Yeah. one more time for me. Oh, look out.
That just gave me goosebumps, bro. You already know my goosebumps rule. If I get the goosebumps, it works. That's it. It's over.
So, Nige, thank you for coming. And
Thank
this
you
is
for having me, man.
This is a completely...
Just so all of the people who are watching this right now, this would be happening whether it was a quarantine or not, just so that y'all know. Me
Yeah.
and John are like, you know, I'm really grateful to be able to call John a friend.
You should hear what I call you.
Watch it. Watch it. Hey,
See, I'm
settle
trying to be
down.
nice
Everybody settle
because
down.
there's people watching.
Settle
You
down.
see what I'm saying? Then here you go.
Well, all right. I won't.
Box.
All right.
Don't do it.
I won't.
You know I'm drinking.
Oh, that's true. That's all right. Take that back.
Watch yourself.
Ignore what I just said.
Watch
But
yourself.
Nigel is one of my favorite musicians on the planet, and I know lots of really great musicians. But Nigel and I have a bit of a kinship because we like stretching out on different instruments and not being limited to one thing necessarily. And what's pretty cool about me and Nigel is that we have in our musical worlds, there are two spheres that cross and that meet in the middle. We got all this stuff we all dig in it, but he knows about a whole bunch of stuff I don't know about. And I have a whole kind of New Orleans history background that's not something you were listening to necessarily coming up in DC when you were a kid. So I always learn stuff from Nigel. That's a really great thing.
Yeah, it's. I think that it's like I always say to people that, you know, there's not a lot of keyboard players that can play with each other because generally, a lot of everybody's trying to show off and show their thing, which is what you're supposed to really do. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to give people something, but I think that because we listen to each other so much and the things that we love, we really listen to. We understand that there's really no reason to be playing all of that crazy stuff. And what happens is when we play, we feed off of each other more than, wanting to.
Yeah, like a cutting show,
saying?
Competition.
Like it's not a music is not a competition. It's not. It's your duty to be yourself.
But
and
then
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do stuff that as a piano player that's kind of unique to piano, and you do stuff as someone coming from like a George Duke background and more of a jazz. You got more jazz chops than I have, and you.
That's very nice of you.
No, it's true. But play me some chords. Just play me some of yours kind of chords that I can't play.
Okay, I was given a lesson earlier today, and I was
I'm
basically
gonna get one right now.
I was talking about, and I was talking to you guys earlier about how I just watched the Quincy documentary, and it had there's so many bombs in that documentary. Anybody who hasn't seen it, I urge you all to watch it. But he said he went to study with someone in Paris to learn how to write orchestral arrangements, and the advice that he got was that there's 12 notes, and that you have to investigate what everybody did with those 12 notes. And part of my lesson today that I was giving was about, there are a lot of people that, do all of this, but all the chords that you need, you don't really have to move your hands. So for instance, if I play, see what I'm saying? It's all there. I didn't move
What was that thing you just
did?
did? Do that bit at the end. What was that called when you did that thing on all the black notes?
So you play, and that works with.
You just went like that.
Yeah, it works. It works with B too. Well, that's the B. That's the B chord it works with. But this one, it's just E, and I'm playing, and on my right hand
Oh,
I'm
it's
playing.
like a B. It's like an E major 7.
Yeah. You know, and
Yeah.
and the whole point is that if you noticed, I didn't move my hand. It's I mean I did to play the chord, but I didn't go all over the place. All of those chords, it's so crazy that all of those chords are right there. That's one of the things that I learned from George Duke listening to him, is that his comping. I really enjoy his comping over. Well, not over anything. I enjoy everything he does equally, but his comping is really special because he can stay one place and say so many things. And then when he leaps out of that, then it's really gonna get deep. But all he got to do is just stay right there.
All right, so I got a question for you.
Okay.
So you've been in New Orleans for a long time now. So how coming here from D.C., is there anything from New Orleans that's crept into your playing, do you think?
Yeah,
or is it
definitely.
just like more just like an attitude or approach or
It's the attitude.
Yeah.
It's the attitude. Because one of the reasons I moved here was because the first time I came here, I realized that all of the people here playing music who were any good played like they were good. You know, that attitude. It's just like Jordan. When Jordan goes on the court, everybody in the house knows what's up and knows that he's got the flu. I'm about to drop 50. You know, and that attitude I didn't see anywhere else. I lived in New York before I came here, and you know, it's a rat race in New York, and everybody's trying to get the gig, and get in a place where they don't starve to death because it's New York City, you know. And one of the reasons I moved here, not just because it was cheaper, but that's a huge reason, but it's just the attitude of people, especially piano players too, like you, for instance. Like when you step on stage, people know what's up. They know what they're about to get, and just by your demeanor. And I felt that was something that resonated with me and my spirit and the way that I attack creating music and playing music with people.
You gotta own it.
You gotta own it.
So can you? Is that something that can you demonstrate, like just a quick little lick of something that you would have played before you lived here, and then how you would play it now? Or is that
No,
just
I can't
too
do
deep
that.
and weird?
I can't do that because this is why, because I'm a completely different person than I was when I got here. Nice. You know, I was still big-headed when I got here. But listen, I told you we're not gonna open the box, bro. We're not doing it.
Well, have we got any questions coming in from the peoples?
Well, first I want to say this is kind of fun. Mindy Giles, who I used to work with years ago at Blacktop Records, says, just made a comment. Piano players rarely ever play together, just like the movie.
Well, that's true.
But do you want an actual question? That was just a comment.
Yeah, you got any questions?
Yep. Sonny Barksdale says,
hey, Sonny.
Please explain the term shuffle to this non-musician who has heard the term many times.
Okay, so shuffle. Well, much as, they say Eskimos have 100 words for snow, for musicians there's lots of ways of playing a shuffle and the way you feel a shuffle. And the shuffle is something that's associated with the blues, but it actually is a feel that exists in all sorts of music. And it's quite interesting. I watched a program on the history of music, and they were talking about the earliest written music was musical notes. They found a way to write the notes, but they didn't have a way of really writing rhythms. And the oldest piece of written music they have, where they actually wrote rhythm, is a shuffle. Really? From the 1100s.
Wow.
Really?
So it's not a new thing.
Wow, I never knew that.
Wow.
But a shuffle is gadum 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 gadum.
I'm not a good shuffle player. I can't do
You
it.
gotta use the drums.
So
hip hop, I can play it all day.
if you play triplets, this is triplets, right? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. And that features in a lot of New Orleans music. That is. 1 2 3 1. Now, if you leave out 2, It's 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1, and it's a loping thing, and the shuffle is. But you can adjust the amount that it swings, and so a Texas shuffle is more like.
And you can always tell when somebody's doing a shuffle correct because people be like this.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, they killing it.
It's the instant thing that makes you do that.
Right.
So that's a shuffle, basically. And I guess it's called a shuffle. I think in the old days they called it the soft shoe shuffle. But it's kind of the sound.
Kind of like the flat tire shuffle, basically, right?
Well, I think it's. I know, I might be wrong. In the old days they put sawdust on the dance floor. And when couples danced, you get this shuffling noise of the sort of the soft shoe shuffle.
It wasn't sawdust. It was
It
sand.
was sand, was it? Yeah.
It was sand.
So I think it was kind of the sound that it made. And if you play a shuffle with brushes,
Right.
it does sound like a shuffle. And it sounds like somebody walking who's had a few too many Guinnesses
Right.
or a few too many Quarantinis. It's got, if you play it right, it's got a slightly kind of drunk feel to it, but it swings.
We're going to record how I sound when I walk out of here. We'll play it. How's that?
But what we were playing at the beginning was a shuffle, basically. So it's a way of playing the blues, but with a certain attitude. And good blues players will just put a certain little extra thing in there that makes it swing and makes the groove suddenly a mile deep.
Right.
And it's undeniable.
Right.
And so if you listen to records like Honky Tonk by Bill Doggett or some old Lowell Fulsom records or whatever, but people shuffle in different ways. And I used to go and see Clifton Chenier, and they play South Louisiana shuffle, and that would have a feel of its own.
Yeah, that's the
And
one.
everything's good. What I don't like is when you get bands that try and do it and don't do it right, and it sounds like this.
It's like every
that ain't gonna
piano
work.
demo that's on your, you know.
I mean, a shuffle is one of the first things any young kid learns to play on a guitar in E. Gung, 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 gung. But it's the simplest thing to play, and it's the hardest thing to play.
Right.
Hardest thing to play right. But that was a good question. Thank you, Sonny.
Here's one. See if y'all can remember. Danny Levinson says, "What's the first song you played together?"
Oh. There might be a story that comes with that, actually.
Can you remember?
The first time I met John was at the Monterey Jazz Festival in California.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
And I was playing with Soul Live at the time, and I was sitting in the lobby of this hotel where everyone ever who invented music was there. In this corner, Chick Corea and Ron Carter over here. George Duke and his wife are eating in the restaurant, and Schofield comes up to me and he's like, "Yo, have you met Cleary?" And I'm like, "Cleary?" He's like, "John Cleary." I'm like, "Wait a minute, John Cleary?" And then, because I was a big fan of his before I met him, and then he came over and we met, and we immediately broed out the second we met. And he had this Applejack hat that because then I was on my Donnie vibe, and he had this Applejack hat, and I asked him if I could wear the hat on stage with Soul Live. And
I said, bro, you got to wear, because I heard you sing. I said, bro, you got to wear the Donny
but
Hathaway
the hat, while I was singing, it kept coming over my eyes. I was like Rudy on Fat Albert, you know.
That's because I've got such a big head.
Yeah, he's got a big head. He's got a noggin.
I watched him walk out on stage and start singing. It just slayed me.
Immediately.
And as he's getting down, he's really getting down. I'm watching this hat just sinking right down.
Every time I had to keep pushing it back up.
But it did suit you. And my favorite Apple hat is actually the one you gave me.
The one I gave you, the brown one.
Yeah.
I got it.
That linen
Yep,
one?
Meyer the Hatter.
Is it that linen one?
Yep.
Yeah,
no,
Myers the
it's
Hatter.
the wool one. I had the wool one because I was living in New York. It's cold.
For those who don't know, I think it's the oldest hat shop in the South is in New Orleans, Meyer the Hatter.
Meyer the Hatter,
And
right around the corner
They
from
make
my
the
house.
Applejack hats, and but they make the linen ones for the summertime. But the actual first tune we played together.
I want to say it was at the Maple Leaf.
It might have been at the Maple Leaf.
Wasn't there something at Tipitina's?
No, I saw Nigel play it. I went down because Nigel was playing.
I was with you that night.
I went to see I think I brought John Porter
And
down
the hat
because I
thing
knew you were going to
happened
be there.
again.
And it was the second time I'd met you. We remembered each other and we hit it
Right.
off straight away. I said, give me your number. And he'd go, okay, it's 504. I said, hey, hold up.
Yep.
How come you got a New Orleans
I had a
phone number?
504 number before I moved here. How about that?
I knew he was it because he had
Shout
a
to
New
Ian
Orleans
Neville.
phone area code. Anyway, so I can't remember what the first thing was
I'm
we
not
played.
sure. I think it might have been something at the Maple Leaf. It
Yeah,
could have
because you
been-
came to town and I asked you if you wanted to come play with us, and I think you just walked on and we just did the gig, no rehearsals. We've had a few rehearsals actually with just different things, but we just started playing straight away. And I very rarely ever let anybody sit in on my gig because the material we do is very well rehearsed. Most
Very
New
arranged.
Orleans, well, I don't know about now, but at that time, New Orleans musicians did not want to rehearse. You just showed up, did the gig, and got paid. And you had a great time, played great music, but it was sloppy. And it meant that you could never really dig deep into your soul and the things you're capable of doing, because Oh, hold up! Quick Quarantini break. Hold that
break.
thought.
Do you want a question, or are you not ready with that yet?
Yeah, give us
Okay.
a question. Otherwise, I'm
All
just
right.
gonna
Yeah,
keep
because we're
rambling
broing
on.
out right
yeah,
now.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
this I'm gonna have a
Throwing
hard
out.
time pronouncing this last name. Mike Zapansky says, "Give us an example of the piano and keyboard complementing one another in a song."
All right.
What do you want to play?
You want to play when you get back?
Sure.
So let's just to answer briefly before we play. What's really hip is a piano is a very percussive instrument, and when Nigel plays Fender Rhodes or a version of a Fender Rhodes, which this is, that really lends itself to long notes. And so this is when you're playing. What you don't want to have is two keyboard players who play exactly the same thing, because then it sounds like a jumble.
Right.
But so we'll just give you an example. Let's play when you get back.
All right. Let's see if I remember it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you want me to set it up?
Good. No, you got it.
Okay. She loved me fine when I was riding from Hong Kong, and she dug it even better. I called a long distance on the phone, and cool and sexy, getting a postcard from Brazil. Oh, but now I'm back here, back home. I know she wanna give me the chills. She said, when you get back, we're gonna cha-cha all night long. But she lied. When you get back, we're gonna sing a different song. But she lied. Flew in on a red eye, put a quarter in the phone. Thought to leave a message, because there ain't nobody home. I'm in a hotel, wonder where she's at. You know the girl giving me the third degree. That ain't where it's at. When you get back, we're gonna cha-cha all night long. But she lied. When you get back, we're gonna sing a different song. But she lied. When you get back, everything be Gucci cool. But she lied, oh she lied. When you get back, baby, I'll take care of you. Oh, yeah, you know that she lied. You know that she lied, man.
Yo, that you just played that. That's my favorite. That's my shit. Yes. See, that's a perfect example because you see that John is playing. He's playing the song. He's playing it the way that he recorded it. Number one, and number two, he's playing a rhythmic thing, and I'm just in the back. And that's the thing is that the thing that I think that we do so well together is I don't mind being the guy in the back. I don't need. Yeah, I have more keyboards than everybody else on stage, but first of all, it's a reason for that, and secondly, I don't mind because they all these different vibes, they have a different thing to say, and you just have to know the right time to use that channel to say those things. And when I'm playing behind him, I just got to keep it mellow. I just got to create a vibe for him. It's basically like, it's like baseball. Somebody throw you a meatball right down the pipe so he can hit it home.
Hold on,
It's
is
a
it
teamwork.
meatball or baseball? Which one is it? Make your mind
It's
up.
meatball.
Well, what you're
Also
talking
meatball.
about, no, there's a really interesting point about what you're saying because you're dead right, and that's why it's such a joy playing. It really is a bro fest, isn't it?
Total bro
Yeah.
fest. I hope Jamie isn't watching this right now. She's gonna text me like, "Yo, you guys are broing way too hard."
What's very hip is that we are both band leaders and we are both sidemen.
Right.
So we operate on different parts of the stage on a regular basis, and they're two different jobs. And to be able to switch from one to the other like that
Right.
is something that a lot of musicians don't actually get to do.
Right.
A lot of people are either one or the other.
Right.
And so you get a lot of front people, about big personalities on the front of the stage, who actually quite often don't really play that well, but they're very charismatic and they're great at being a front person. And then you have a lot of sidemen who are great accompanists, but wouldn't necessarily be the person at the
think
front of the
also-
ship with the steering wheel.
I
But
think also too, not to cut you off, but I think also too is that because we're both frontmen and sidemen, I think that when we get together, we know that if we aren't completely there on one side of it, the other one is.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're always able to feed off of each other, and that's why I love playing music, especially with people of the like mind, because feeding off of someone who's inside your head can be the best thing or the worst thing, really. But
Well,
with
if
this
you-
situation, it's
Yeah.
better together than it is apart,
and the other good thing is we both play all the instruments.
and we all
You
know
wanna play,
what
You want
everybody.
to play a little bit of guitar on the blues
No, I do
or
not want to
something?
play the guitar.
Go ahead,
I'm
yeah,
not
play
playing
drums.
guitar. No, I'll play drums.
You want to play some drums?
I'll play some drums.
All right, we can see if this is a new
All right,
thing. We're going
I
to see if
gotta
we can
move stuff
switch the camera.
around.
All right.
Regular
Come on,
viewers
Scor-
to the
come on, Scorsese.
Quarantini hour are about to get a view of the other side of the room.
Other side.
She who must be obeyed at all times is manning the controls. The control them.
Manning the control them.
You want to just play some pocket?
Let's do
Play whatever you wanna
let's
play.
do what do you want the girl to do? Let's do.
Oh, yeah, all right. Set it up. You want to set it up?
Huh?
play
On the
guitar or
drum? You want me
piano?
to set it up on the drum. Do a drum solo. I've been listening to a lot of Sun Ra today. Ooh, let's see if I remember that good.
This one's for Paul Siegel. I know he's watching. It's an Alan Toussaint tune. So you think the girl is crazy? Eat up all your lies like it's good for her, like apple pie. She don't even cry. She's not a fool. She's just trying to do what her heart says to. And as you take to the wind again, my friend, she breaks down within. She'll wait for you patiently, hoping that one day see how she really wants to be is yours alone, eternally. What do you want the girl to do? Can't you see you're breaking the child in two? What do you want the girl to do? When all she really wants is you. She knows just what you are, still she'll be your queen. Say the words today, build your world around them. Down in your pride, baby. All the little things you will see and you will be. I'm so glad that you finally found the free to go. She watched you come and go to your show, your show, your show. And there she watched your promises erode. She'll wait for you patiently, hoping that one day you'll see that all she really wants to be. I forgot the words, I think. Eternally, and what do you want the girl to do? Can't you see breaking the child in two? What do you want the girl to do? When all she really wants is you. What do you want the girl to do? Can't you see that you're breaking the child in two? What do you want the girl to do? Hey, 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 hey.
It's my Bernard Purdy. Hey, 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 hey.
I recognize that straight
Oh
away.
man, I had to do it because I went.
I know, I saw you do
You
it.
knew it was coming.
Yeah, you gonna play some funk?
Yeah. What do you want to play? Do it again. Oh, these 16s hurt my hand.
All right, enough of that.
Oh my God.
We're getting carried
My
away.
goodness.
Is there another question? We're getting very close to Name That Smiley Lewis tune, but in the meantime.
Well, this is just a funny comment. When you guys were talking about the hat switchy before.
Yeah.
So Ivan Neville says,
Yeah,
Oh, what's up,
he says, "Damn, John, is your head really bigger than Nigel's?"
it's
That's
actually
messed
true.
up. I'm gonna come see you for that. That's messed up, bro.
And, yeah, answer to the question, yes, it is. I've
Yes,
got a
it
really
is,
big
actually.
head. I've got a really big head. You've probably got a fairly normal-sized head. It's a matter of
It's
some
bigger
debate.
than normal, but
Yeah.
you know, it ain't bigger than yours. So
That's true.
All
I'm the
right.
winner in that
You
department.
want a question?
Yeah.
All right. I think this was from Richard Freeman. He says, bass players always tell me not to compete with them by not using my left hand, but that's where I got my mojo. What do you suggest I do?
I have the answer for that.
Go ahead. Talk to them.
Listen. Listen. The best thing to do, the best advice I ever got was from another keyboard player. I was basically asking him, I said, because I like to play left hand bass too. And the reason, honestly, I'm a big now that since we're having martinis here, I can be honest, right?
Well, no, we're not
So-
having quarantines. There's a huge difference.
Quarantinis, whatever you call them.
Yeah.
Bass players don't like when you play keyboard bass and you're doper than they are on it. Basically, that's really what it is. So the best advice that I can give you is to really, really just listen, because if you're listening to everyone in the band, then the music will play itself. And you should listen so that you can know when to drop those bombs.
I can
You
dig
know?
that, though, because I think from a bass player's point of view, it's probably hugely irritating for piano players stomping all over your territory. Piano player's got this huge playground,
Right,
and the bass player
Right.
plays the bass.
right,
You
exactly.
know, and if the piano player's filling up all the bottom end, what's the bass player supposed to start playing, like piccolo?
Right. Once
Stuff.
you get up past, yeah.
So I think it didn't used to be a problem in the old days because the keyboard player was a piano player, and pianos were hard to amplify, and you very rarely ever heard the left hand.
Right.
And on a lot of old records, on a lot of New Orleans records, the records they cut at Cosmo Matassa's studio, Cosmo told me they used to put one microphone in the bend of the body of the piano, and they'd put the bass player there, and that one mic would record the bass
Right.
and the piano. And so in those instances, the piano would be up here going,
Right.
and in that context, the piano player would play a few little chords and stuff, and the bass had that territory. He said, "This is my zone.
Right.
Let me handle the
Right.
bottom end," and that's what he did. And but when piano players played solo, guys like Professor Long here,
Right.
then they needed to have a really strong left hand. And I do a lot of solo gigs, so my left hand is strong because now I'm the piano player and the bass player and the drummer.
Right.
And so in that instance, the bass player and the piano player have to
That
really
goes back
be
to what you were
working.
saying about it being a percussive instrument.
Yeah, so they have to work in concert with each other, really, because their instruments operate in the same region, and it can be really messy if.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of hard for bass players to play with me because I do play with a lot of left hand, and as I was saying, in the old days with acoustic pianos, you couldn't mic them, but I remember when the CP80, the first Yamaha piano came out, I remember George Porter saying, "Man, this is crazy. I'm just driving me nuts. I'm playing with this piano player who's got a bit of a lazy left hand. And it didn't matter before because I could never hear it.
Right.
But
And the
now it's
CP80s
louder than
have
my
so much
bass.
attack at the bottom.
Yeah, it's like it's stomping all over my territory, and I can kind
Right.
of dig that. So I think, you have to work with, if you're a bass player, work with piano players who are generous and give you some room to move
Right.
in. Otherwise you're really restricted by what they do.
Right.
So that's a good question.
Well, I was going to read one, but I'm going to read this other one because it's sort of going with what y'all are talking about. Rafael Santos says, how does the dynamic work with two pianos, keyboards? One of you does the bass and the other does the melody, or can it work differently?
You kind of just whatever's appropriate for the song, really. But there are rarely situations where it's just me and Nigel, or Nigel and Ivan, or me and Ivan, or me and
I think
Mac,
that
or
I think that
it's kind of an unusual situation.
it works when both piano players understand their role, really. For instance, like when we do Just Kiss My Baby, right? And you play the clav on that. And I have a clav, but I don't play it because it's too much waka 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 waka.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not me complimenting you or you
Yeah.
complimenting me.
Yeah.
It's just too much of the same sound, which I guess, for lack of a better term, muddy.
Yeah.
murky,
Yeah.
because you have to, both keyboard players have to, number one, know their role, and number two, never play the same sound that the other person is playing. Because first of all, you want people to know who's playing what.
Yeah.
And secondly, when you have so much of that, like if I played piano sound on that and you played piano and we played together, I wouldn't play for more than 4 bars because I would get sick of it. So, just the sonic quality of each instrument has to be able to complement each other. For instance, a Rhodes and a piano, or an organ and a Rhodes, or an organ and a Wurlitzer. They all have different sounds. They all have different sonic qualities about them. So you have to complement those things rather than, because then if I'm playing piano and you playing piano, then now it would sound like we're trying to outdo each other, even though we may not be trying to at that time.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like, and it's confusing.
Yeah, and then one thing, look, good musicians will, I think, will think of space almost as an instrument. The gaps between the notes are objects,
That's the funk.
and they're almost as important as the notes that come between in the gaps. And if you have two instruments that are doing the same thing, you would, to make it sound musical, you would each have to play 50% less than you would play, and it would end up, if you did it well, it would sound like one person playing.
Exactly.
And then what's the point? Because one person
Speaking
could do
of
that,
which,
and then
Ivan,
go.
one time we were in, if Ivan's still watching, Ivan and we were in Australia at Caloundra, and we were sitting in with somebody, and I was playing some stuff on the clav. This is hilarious. I was playing some stuff on the clav, and I thought I was killing. I thought I was killing it, And then Ivan looked over at me, and he was like, "Okay, let's see how much less we can play together." Which was his way of telling me stop playing all that shit. And that's the best, really, real talk, that's the best advice I've ever gotten from somebody, because there's so much joy in just playing one and then not playing nothing until the next one, because you left so much space for, number one, everybody else in the band, and you left space for the people who are actually listening in the band so that they can make better decisions.
Yeah, that's a very important part when you're playing
I
with
was
other
mad as
people.
shit at him when he first said it, but as we kept playing, I was like, "Oh, this is how you're dope." Okay, and so thanks,
Yeah.
I'm still mad at you for calling me a big head, though.
But that's very true about leaving space. I think good musicians tend to be very conscious of that. And
Shout out to Calvin Turner.
air in music is really important, and that's, I think, quite often when the magic happens on the stage. When you play with good musicians, is always good, but quite often we find there's a point in a gig where it's like an aeroplane suddenly getting enough wind under the sails and enough speed, a critical mass, where you just feel it lifting up.
Exactly.
And that's largely because the amount of air that is in. And I always think of it in the same way as when you're a kid, when you're building fires, and if you cram too much stuff in there, and it won't burn.
Right.
If you leave a lot of space, so there's a lot of air, then everything breathes, and then you get everything ignites, and then you have a big flame. And that's the same thing when you're playing music.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, good
right.
question.
Jane, first, I just want to say Ivan just sent a little emoji with sunglasses and a little smile.
Lord,
so
here you go.
no,
See?
he's saying that was a nice little emoji.
Yeah, that's
It was
better
a nice-
than
calm
that's better
down.
than the alternative.
Calm down, settle down. It was a nice emoji.
Love you,
Jamie Hubbard says, "What's your favorite song to play together?"
You want to do a bit of Jealous Guy? You want to come over here and sing a bit of Jealous Guy? Because people always
have been
dig
asking
their head
for
that.
it.
They've been asking for
Yeah, I
Jealous Guy?
usually read out requests toward the end, but
All
people have been
right,
asking
all
for it.
All right.
Yeah, because I want to hear you sing.
Well, I'm not
All
gonna
right,
play.
I gotta
So
move. Some
You're gonna
cameras
play,
around.
and I'm just gonna
Okay.
sing.
All right.
All right. Since you asked.
Both Nigel and I are huge fans of Donny Hathaway. And this was written by John Lennon, but this is the baddest version. And he really, when he sang this, it's almost as if he'd written it, really.
Well,
you think, you know.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, Donny Hathaway please let's not open that box. Donny Hathaway had the ability to steal your song from you.
Yeah.
I've heard many songs where he sang, for instance, he sang a Stevie Wonder song, and you would have thought that he wrote it. And I'm sure Stevie was pissed. I'm sure he was.
Oh,
But
I bet he was.
he was
not
probably
over
pissed in the sense of like, you know.
I bet he was. No, I think
I'm
he was
sure
probably
he was
blown
thrilled.
away.
I'm sure he was thrilled, but I'm sure
'Cause you
that
know
he
he loved
wished
Donny
he could
Hathaway.
sing that way. Because I said it. If it wasn't for Donny Hathaway, there would not be the Stevie Wonder that we know as a vocalist. Yes, I said it.
But before
You can
y'all
quote me on
start,
it.
your drink's empty, Nigel.
Oh.
Somebody no.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Oh no.
that's a perfect.
So is mine.
Well. Would you look at that? Yes, sir.
That's actually the main reason I suggested Nigel play the drums. Because I've got more. I'm in charge of the Quarantini.
Is it empty?
No, but
A little
it's
bit
nearly
left?
empty. Yeah.
Ooh.
It's getting there.
But we played.
All right, I've been in the studio working on my record singing, so if it's not
All right.
A1, then oh well.
And what's cool about this too, man, Donny Hathaway cut this. It's got such a New Orleans piano groove to it.
Yeah,
you know, that.
definitely. I was dreaming of the
Sing a song.
past, and my heart was beating fast. I began to lose control. I began to lose control. I didn't mean to hurt you. That was nice, John.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry I made you cry. Yeah. I didn't want to hurt you.
Sing your song.
No, I didn't. I'm just a jealous guy, yeah. Said I was feeling insecure. You might not want me anymore. Said I was trembling inside.
That's why I like Nigel Hall right there.
I was trembling inside.
No, actually, that's why I like Nigel.
Oh, didn't mean
I didn't mean to hurt you, baby.
hurt you,
No, baby.
oh, no. And I'm sorry I made you cry. Yeah. I didn't want to hurt you, baby. No, I'm just a jealous guy. Won't you play a little bit for us, John? Go ahead. I didn't want to hurt you, no. And I'm sorry I made you cry.
I'm sorry, baby.
I didn't want to hurt you.
at you.
Lord, I'm just a jealous guy. I'm just a jealous guy. Yeah.
I'm just a jealous guy. Yes, I am all day. I'm jealous, baby.
I'm just a jealous guy. Yeah.
I don't want nobody.
Donnie used to say, ooh, yeah. Ooh, Lord. Hey, yeah.
I don't want nobody looking at you, baby.
Don't want nobody buying you Marble House at 1 o'clock in the morning. No. I'm just a jealous guy, yeah. I'm just a jealous guy.
Yes. Jealous guy now.
Let the church say amen. Say amen. Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
indeed.
And
Yes,
amen
indeed.
again.
Well, we're running.
Yeah, how you gonna follow that?
Smiley Lewis.
All right. Let's do it. Name that Smiley Lewis tune.
Oh. All right. Hold on. Let me get ready. Wait, you gotta say what the deal is.
Oh.
It's a contest.
This is a piece of vinyl that's over half a century old. And it still sounds killer. It's
You better
scratched
not
to
get that
shit.
to nobody.
No, I'm not giving this away. Are you
Okay.
kidding me?
All right.
No, there's going to be a prize. Can
You
you
better
remember
send
what
a
the prize is,
YouTube
Trish?
clip or something.
What's the
It's
prize?
a poster.
Oh, there's going to be a signed poster for anybody who can. The first person that names the Smiley Lewis tune. I'll give you a
I'll
little
sign
clue.
it
It's on
too.
the Imperial label. Lee Allen's playing tenor saxophone. Earl Palmer's playing the drums. Frank Field's playing the bass. Red Tyler's playing the saxophone. And Ernest McLean is
So
playing the
whoever
guitar. I
gets it
think.
right first gets a poster.
Maybe Edgar Blanchard, I'm not sure.
You shouldn't have told him who was on it.
I know you're giving it away.
That's an extra point.
I'm going to send this one out to Diz if he's watching.
So you ain't got to worry about me stealing it from you.
Not one night.
Ooh. What does it? Go home full?
Go on, fool.
Go on full. Got it.
All right.
Yeah.
Alice Wellfast is the winner.
Well done. Hooray.
So Alice, I'll send you a message from my personal Facebook, and I'll get your address and send you a poster.
Well, as Smiley Lewis is playing us out, thank you everybody for tuning in. We're going to be here on. I'm going to be here on Thursday, 1
And
o'clock
I
in the
might
afternoon.
just drop by then too,
Yeah,
because this
'cause
was
it's kinda
so
fun.
much fun.
I know it's a
I
gas,
had
isn't
a
it?
blast.
And this is killer because we're playing to people all around the world who all dig what we do and dig New Orleans music.
And we miss
And-
all of you. We miss all of you. We
Yeah,
can't wait
this
to
is the
get
closest we've got
out back
to a
to
gig for
wherever
ages.
you are, because we will go to the ends of the earth for a gig.
Yeah.
So even if you're in the depths of hell, we'll be there. So
You guys are always in the
The
depths,
depths of hell at the end of the earth. Mixing your metaphors in.
exactly.
So thank you everybody, and the link there, the PayPal link. You'll see there's a thing where if you want you can subscribe to the free newsletter, and I'm gonna be like sending you bits of music. I actually I cut this little rock steady version of an old Tommy Edwards tune.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and it's killer. Oh, Smiley's finished. Anyway, so yeah, sign up for the newsletter, that way we can keep you posted, and. Thank you very much, and see you on Thursday and Saturday
thank
for the
you so
lesson.
much, John,
And
for
thank
having me
you,
on, brother.
Nige.
That's all right. We've already broken the code, so this is bro code right here. This is family. This is my man on the short list. You understand? You know what it is.
Thanks to Mike Dorsey for engineering, making it sound
Mike
good.
Dorsey!
Thank you to She Who Must Be Obeyed for manning the cameras and the technical equipment. And the Quarantinis.
And the Quarantini. All right.
So on that note, we bid you adieu.
Cheers to
Wish you
everybody.
good night. And see you next time, soon. And we're going to be doing this until the gigs come back. And even when the gigs come back, we might still be doing this. This is a lot of fun.
Why don't
But
you
we
all
might not be filming it.
play a little bit because there's a delay, and then I'll just turn it off while you're playing. So just
Play some
just
music?
play something,
All right,
and I'll end the stream.
Let's just play some pocket.
Perfect.